Hey guys, I'm so excited to see you. If you're joining in on YouTube or LinkedIn, welcome. This is our first time actually doing a live on both. So let me know how it goes. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know where you're from, where you're calling from, all the things. I'm going to be sending a few comments in the comment section. So please feel free to respond and share. The more interactive, the better. So today we are going to talk about something super important, something that a lot of people have been reaching out for our company about, and that is what you need to thrive in 2005. And so, what's happening now in the current narrative and the current shift, specifically in the legal industry, it's probably one of its kind. And that's really what's actually maybe more people are getting concerned or maybe fearful or whatever feeling in their feels, however you want to name it, is what's happening. So the shift we're in right now, it's a straight and direct result for the post-pandemic, right? And post-pandemic, a lot of people have been shifting their focus more on people, purpose, and profit. And that's really where the trajectory is going to continue to grow and thrive, right? We are going to continue to invest in our clients, in our teams, and we're going to really focus on what purpose looks like in the current narrative, right? Because it's super important to understand that this current shift is literally the trajectory of what's there to continue. So, we can't continue unless we have this current narrative. Another thing is we're getting a lot of questions about remote and hybrid, the expectations and the staff and the clients, right? And so it can differ, and it's a very hard transition for most. A lot of people feel comfortable working from home and have the love the flexibility, and it's there's a lot of surveys out there, and a lot of scientists have proven that working from home actually makes your employees happier. But sometimes, depending on the narrative and the way that the business part of the law firm has been, I guess, trickled down and structured, it can get a little sticky, right? So if the clients are used to coming in and having those in-person meetings, picking up checks, having in person, I guess, interaction, gets a little hard when almost all your staff, if not all, especially the case managers, are at home. So navigating through this hybrid and expectation is not easy. So you have to kind of reconstruct and repurpose what you already have in order to kind of shape and morph this new narrative of remote work or hybrid, right? So something's got to give, and that something has to be both parties, right? So those expectations need to be set forward. Like I said, a lot of people are really happy with being home and having that flexibility and clocking in, clocking out, doing what they need to do in the allowed time as long as they get their work done. But sometimes the law firm doesn't really match that work environment, depending on, again, how it's structured. So that's where it gets a little sticky, and that's where maybe the hybrid model would be more beneficial than just full on remote. Again, you're going to have to analyze that. That is full on you guys. Another thing is why systems are no longer the hustle culture. Like, everybody's like, I gotta hustle, I gotta make money, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. And unfortunately, that's just not the narrative anymore. We're shifting to the system being more of a flex than a hustle. So creating processes and procedures, having everything streamlined and automated, having your team strong in what they do, upskilling the team members, upskilling yourself on leadership, and putting the right people in the right positions, doing what you need to do in order for you to really relieve yourself and remove yourself from the stressful part of running a law firm. And that's really what you're going to need to do from here on out. If you are the staff member, if you're the paralegal or the receptionist or the intake person or the legal staff member, then you're going to need to start learning about your blind spots. You're going to need to start upskilling, and you really need to start shifting with the current. Because what's happening is you're going to either left behind or you're going to be replaced by technology or someone that knows the technology. unfortunately, that's just how it's going. That's what we're seeing. That's the legal trends. And so we need to start preparing ourselves and making sure that our skills are still up to par, still relevant, and that our value is not only what it used to be 5 years ago, but what it's going to be 5 years from now. And that right there is the current shift. Next is the common pitfalls. Now, the common pitfalls are law firms that are relying on outdated SOPs and toxic cycles, right? So what used to work the traditional way was, let's just follow what the court says, let's follow the deadlines, let's place them into a, CRM or a case management software and hope and pray that everything goes well. That doesn't work. It hasn't worked ever. So I'm not quite sure where everybody got that idea that it was going to work. So that's definitely out the door. What we're doing now is we're replacing that with actual processes and training, right? So that's what we need to do. We need to start not sinking in our, people that are, we just onboarded and say sink or swim. That doesn't work, guys. It's not going to work. It's not going to create the culture you want. It's not going to create the retention that you want. It's going to just create a lot of overturn, a lot of chaos, a lot of toxic cycles. And we are trying to prevent that pitfall. So in order to do that, you have to upskill your staff. You have to focus on your staff. You got to make sure that they're having, just like everybody does the continuing legal education, so are all your other skills, all your transferable, all your soft skills, all the other skills that are not talked about in a classroom. Those are the ones that we need to work on the most, because that's what's really going to create that client experience and that future forward mindset. That's really what we need to do. And those are the pitfalls that we no longer can have, right? We can't afford bad customer service anymore. There are way too many lawyers out there that can probably duplicate your work and be more effective and more productive in less amount of time. And that's who the client's going to go with. So you need to become that, or you're no longer going to be that. That's just how it is right now. Another thing that we're looking at is paralegals that are chasing certifications versus actual college degrees. So the certifications that they're searching for is more in aligned with what they want to do. So if they say they want to go for a managerial position, they're going to look for a certification that's going to train them on leadership skills, on how to manage a team, on how to create strategy meetings, how to review reports accurately and data, and how to capture all that data and decrease the inefficiencies and productivity and all the things. Those are the certifications they're looking for. They're no longer looking for sort of like what we would call the traditional certifications, where it's a paralegal program or it's a associate's program in legal studies. Most of the paralegals out there have already been there, done that, and they have not found any benefit from it other than creating a really solid network and maybe somewhat, in what capacity, an actual dynamic way of learning, right? Like a foundation. And that's great for the paralegals that are just starting out, that are trying to develop those skills. That's amazing. I'm not saying that they're going to be obsolete. By no means necessary am I saying that. What I'm saying is that the paralegals that are already either in the mid journey or are seeking for something more are looking for certifications more aligned to their future. And that's really the common thread that we've been seeing as far as paralegals go. So understanding that, yes, that girl chef, I love it. She said, I don't know if I can put this on the screen. Hold on, because we're testing out a new system here. Yes, I love it. So she said that that she's always said that great customer service keeps the clients coming back. It also, and to add to that point, is it also creates and cultivate a really nourishing and growing environment within the team. Because if our clients are happy, then we can be happy, then everybody can be happy. And unfortunately, I know it sounds like a thing, but it really does work, And so in addition to this, though, what we're seeing is that the burnout city, right? Everybody was anxious. Everybody creating a chaotic environment where it was unhealthy for anybody to work there versus yourselves. So now the law firms are gearing more to retention. They have noticed that turnover is way expensive. They rather keep their employees and help them flourish and help them grow in different variety of ways versus trying to find somebody to replace them later. So that's the next step that we're seeing. That used to be a major pitfall, where before law firms were like, no, not about that life. Now they're like, no, I see it's hitting my pocket and I need to really make sure that my teams are strong. And that's exactly what we're looking at. So that's always positive for us, especially as a consulting firm. So now we're going to reset the framework, right? We're going to make sure that how do I say this nicely? We want to make sure that we're reflecting on what we are right now, right? So where we're at right now is very different than where we were before. So reflecting on this is going to be great. Remote work was unheard of before, right? So like, hello, thank you, COVID. So we were able to process that and be one step forward. AI tools are really assisting law firms in being more efficient, automizing more, and providing that constant client communication that the clients have been asking and craving for decades. So these are all positive things. This is where we're at now. Now, where we are going to have to realign and where we're going to have to change is that mindset of who am I going to need to be, like where are my skills going to have to be in order to really stay ahead of the game. And that's really where your focus is. So learning your AI tools, focusing on client communication and client excellence, partnering up with the attorneys, making sure that your strategies are on point, that you're not missing deadlines, that you're being as effective and efficient as possible, and that you're using these AI tools as just that, like a tool. They're helping you be a better legal professional. They're in no way, shape, or form ever going to replace us, but they are going to help us be better legal pros. And that's exactly what we're here for lawyers, for any legal support staff member. That's really what we're seeing. So we're resetting that framework so that you can make sure that you're realigning with the new stuff versus not. Another thing is that we're trying to rebuild, right? And that's really what our academy was about. We just launched it recently on June 6th, and we want to rebuild what has not been there before. And so we noticed that back in 70 years ago, when the paralegal role was, I guess, created, if that's what you want to call it, but they found there was a need that attorneys needed some type of assistance. So they created this unlabeled existence of called the paralegal. And at first it was like legal assistant, legal secretary, and it came with so many names. So now it's like divided. Either you're the legal assistant or you're the paralegal or you're an executive assistant or a legal secretary. Like, it depends on what jurisdiction you're in. It is what it is at this point. But creating solutions to this problem is going to be essential, right? So right now, what we see, the future and the framework that's happening, we're going to see less and less 9 to 5, full-time W-2 employees, because our economy is not actually, I guess, set up for that right now, because we are seeing more of entrepreneurs, more people wanting that flexibility and finding those moments in between, because basically COVID has launched this to the nth degree. They saw that life is finite. What are we doing? And so resetting that framework is going to be super, super, super important for the people to understand that, right? And that's really where we're at. And so that's why we saw that even though I have 5 degrees under my belt, and half of the things that I learned, I didn't learn in a classroom. I learned practicing as a paralegal. I learned through my colleagues. I learned through my attorneys. I learned through so many people. And unfortunately, that just wasn't, it was unheard of back in the day, right? Where paralegals can work on their own and be independent or work remotely or work hybrid. It just wasn't a thing until recent. And so now we're navigating through those intricacies, and that's really, really important that we do that. And so seeing these trends is how we as legal professionals in general, whether we own our own businesses, whether we're 9 to 5, whether we are law firm owners, whatever it is really how you're going to stay ahead and how you're going to reset that framework and how you can really tailor the way you see your career and the way that's going to manifest in the future. All right, so I'm going to wrap this up. with some final thoughts and some announcements for you guys. We are going to have another workshop, but it's going to be a little different. It's going to be more for the people that are looking to pivot, to grow, looking for new opportunities, and just have hit brick walls submitting resumes, which is why we're calling it Beyond the Resume. And that workshop is going to be next week. So look out for that. We'll be both on LinkedIn and YouTube. So definitely look out for that. These are recorded, so you can see these at any time. If you have questions, you can submit your questions just like anything else in the comments, or you can, send us a message, whatever you feel, I guess, obliged to do. But I'm Ada Rosa, and that was it for today. And I hope you guys enjoyed this short and brief workshop. Again, you can rewatch this at any time. And if you have any questions or any concerns, let me know. But I want you to reflect on what's happening right now. I want you to do your research, and I want you to really look at what's happening in the legal trends, right? Not just politics, media, all the frenzy. I get that. That's separate. We're looking at what's happening for us as legal professionals, and that's really immediate, and that's going to be a consistent change. So we need to start watching out for those trends. Research, upskill yourself however possible, and always stay limitless. Bye, guys.